Hi, this is Cameron back again with another new Vinyl Finds video. It's the second one I'm making today. I got 22 new albums in the past week at a antique shop and at a local charity record sale held by our Manitoba Chamber Orchestra. So I split 11. I featured 11 in the first video and I'm featuring 11 in this video to keep the videos quite short. So first up is Roy Hamilton, R&B pop singer from the States, with All My Love from 1958. So these were all $3 each. Then a jazz player, a jazz saxophonist from the 1980s, the Scott Hamilton Quintet in concert featuring Chris Flory, John Bunch, Phil Flanagan, and Chris Riggs. This album came out in 1983 and is on the Concord Jazz label. Then I got a Dan Hicks and his Hot Licks album, original recordings. This album came out originally in 1969. This is probably a later issue from sometime in the 70s. Or possibly early 80s. Dan Hicks was originally part of the Charlatans. He played later on country rock, died in 2016. I had a chance to see him live at least once at our Winnipeg Folk Festival a number of years ago. Then the second album, Dan Hicks' Hot Licks, Last Train to Hicksville. This has a original record store sticker from Opus 69, so that tells me that this came out probably originally in the early 70s. It's probably an original issue. It came out in 1973. Although, no, it has postal code on the album, so maybe it came out a little bit later in late 70s and early 80s. But I thought Opus 69 didn't exist by then, so maybe late 70s. So as you can see, it's in the original shrink wrap, and as I said, I saw Dan Hicks play live at our Folk Fest a number of years ago. Next up, an old Folkways album, Irish Jugs, Reels, and Hornpipes. It's a 10-incher on Folkways 8182/2, which originally came out in 1956. And the back is just the typical black backing. It does not have the liner notes, the sheet of liner notes that appear in most of the Folkways albums, so I assume that someone's taken that out and just not put it back in. Those are always very informative liner notes. Next up, Brenda Lee, some early rock and roll pop. This is from 1960. The album's called This Is Brenda Lee. This is Brenda, and it's Brenda Lee. The song they were promoting was I Want to Be Wanted, as well as Just a Little, If I Didn't Care, and We Three. Then I have a Bud Powell album, The Inner Fires, The Genius of Bud Powell. He's a jazz pianist from the 1940s to 60s, and this album originally came out in 1953. It's been reissued here in 1982. Then some early rock and roll instrumental music, Santo and Johnny Brothers. The album's called Encore, and this originally came out in 1960. So as I said, these were all from an antique store as well as a Manitoba Chamber Orchestra charity record sale, and they were all $3 each. Next up is a Canadian singer-songwriter called Jack Schechtman. The album's called Jack Himself, From Soup to Nuts, came out in 1972. I couldn't find almost anything on him on the internet, but he's a singer-songwriter. Then a jazz pianist from the 40s and 50s, Art Tatum, The Best Of, and this album came out in 1983 on Pablo. So these albums are great for me because I'm just starting to really explore jazz in a little bit more of an in-depth fashion. Finally, Canadian blues singer from Hamilton, Ontario. He was the grandson of a freed slave who went up to Canada. His name is Jackie Washington. The album's called Blues and Sentimental and came out in 1976. I had a chance to see Jackie Washington at our Folk Fest at least once around the 1990s. So I know he's a blues institution within Canada, now recently deceased, I think around 2009. He's a member of the Canadian Blues Hall of Fame. So that's it for now. Please leave your comments at the bottom and please subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks and have a good day. Bye-bye.